What is up, you guys? This is MiniSuperHeroes Today, and continuing on with my MCU countdown to Avengers Endgame, I'm going week by week through every MCU movie in chronological order of release, showing you a custom and regular minifigure showcase from every MCU movie in order. And in today's video, we'll be revisiting Iron Man 3, which of course was the first movie to come after the Avengers. It came out in 2013, was the first film of Phase 2, and brought us that much closer to facing off Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. So, in this movie, there were a ton of Iron Man armors, obviously. In fact, 42 of them, plus a War Machine armor and Iron Patriot. So with that said, there was no way to make every single armor for this, using the purist method. So I made some of my favorites, some of the best upgrades that I could on already existing figures, and just kind of went with that. I may do a video down the line where I do every single Iron Man armor, like as a purist custom, but for now, I just wanted to focus on the main highlights and upgrading figures that already existed. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in and start taking a look at these minifigures. Alright, and so to start off the video, we'll start with the main character himself, Tony Stark. Now, Iron Man 3 was the first time that we ever got a dedicated Tony Stark minifigure, and so I wanted to make sure that I used that figure, and then of course gave you a couple little updates. So up top we've got some brown hair, a smirk, of course the torso has his arc reactor because this is the last movie where Tony has the arc reactor actually in his chest. I gave him some black legs, and the only real major upgrade that I made are on the arms here, which you can see are white on top and tan on bottom, and I got those from the Soccer Players collectible minifigure series. Now I know that those arms have shown up in a few other places, that's just where I got mine, and that's where I suggest getting yours from. So, let's move on to the next figure. Next up, we've got Happy Hogan, who of course is played by Jon Favreau, and he directed the first two Iron Man movies. Now, he hasn't directed an Iron Man movie since, but he has showed up in Happy Hogan and a few different Marvel movies since then, and it's good to see Happy around. So for this figure, I used the head and hair from the Ghostbusters Peter Venkman. I think it works really well for Happy, and for the body, I just used Agent Coulson from the Marvel sets, and if you turn him on the side here, you can see that I gave him a phone, which also comes from Agent Coulson, because as you'll remember, Happy has trouble figuring out how to use FaceTime with Tony Stark to show him that Aldrich Killian might be making a move on Pepper. So, that's my version of Happy, and we can keep rolling on to the next figure. So next up is Pepper Potts, and as I said with Tony Stark, you have to remember that the Iron Man 3 sets were only technically the second wave of Marvel sets that we got from Lego and Marvel combining. So with that, this is of course the first and only Pepper Potts we've gotten to date, and I used basically 100% of the original pieces from her except for one part. So the torso, head, and hair are all from Pepper Potts. I think that it looks a lot like Gwyneth Paltrow and is hard to argue with. So I just gave her the legs from Alice in Wonderland just to give her some black shoes with a little extra detail. Now, if you turn the head around, you'll see she's got a scared face on this side. And for those of you that don't have this figure, I just wanted to show off everything that it has to offer. So let's keep rolling. So next up is the young Aldrich Killian from the New Year's party that opens up Iron Man 3. So I really like the way that this figure looks because they made Guy Pearce look like a total fanboy geek, and I tried my best to do that here too. So I'm going to turn him on the side here so you can see a little more of the detail. The hair I used is from the wrestler from the collectible minifigure series. You'll see it's this nice long mullet, and it looks really good for Aldrich Killian's hair from New Year's Eve 1999. Moving down, the head I used is from Kevin from the female Ghostbusters set from 2016. Of course, that's actually Chris Hemsworth's head, but I like those blonde eyebrows peeking out behind the glasses, and I like those big nerdy glasses. So then moving down, the torso is from the grandpa from the Fun at the Beach set, and I really like it for having that white shirt underneath with a little dress shirt going on over top. If you'll remember in the movie, Aldrich Killian actually has an AIM shirt on, but obviously that's not going to exist in LEGO Purist method mode, so I had to go with the next best thing. I gave him a little walking cane here because you'll remember he has a little limp before Extremist heals him, and then I just gave him some gray legs to round out the look. So I really like Aldrich Killian, I hope that you guys do too, and let's hop in the time machine and take a look at Aldrich Killian from 2013. Alright, so the 2013 version of Aldrich Killian is definitely different. You know, I wanted to give him a little bit of an update because if you remember from the 2013 version, he had this strange glow-in-the-dark head, and, you know, the color was like this off-white, and it's super weird. If you look, though, it really does glow in the dark. It's pretty cool. You can see here, I turned the light down, it does have a little shimmer to it. It isn't charged up as of this video, but in any case, it always looked kind of weird to me, so I went with a more regular head, and this is from Luke from Star Wars. Not his most recent head, but like his 2010 era head. In any case, I used the same slick back hair, which you can get from Hawkeye. I used the same torso, and I just gave him some darker khaki legs. So all in all, this Aldrich Killian looks pretty good, and considering he turned out to be the real Mandarin in Iron Man 3, you definitely want to make sure that you've got him for your collection. So speaking of those strange glow-in-the-dark heads, the next character is the Extremist foot soldier. Now, this character was always super weird to me. You'll remember in the movie, the Extremist patients basically are used as like human bombs. But in any case, I think that's why they went with the glow-in-the-dark head to show that they were charged up. And the red here on the torso and on the face shows that he's just about ready to explode. I didn't do any updates to the figure that came from the movie because, let's be honest, it's a pretty unmemorable character. And I felt like it wasn't really worth upgrading, and I wanted to spend more time in this video showing you characters that you probably actually care about. So, let's move on to a character I know that you guys will really like. Alright, so next up we've got the Iron Patriot, aka Colonel James Rhodes. So I love this figure. It was actually a polybag exclusive to GameStop, and I believe Walmart as well, that came with the original LEGO Marvel Superheroes game. So it's a pretty rare figure these days, and I'm pretty sure he goes for a little pretty penny on the aftermarket. But in any case, I didn't really make any upgrades to him because, I'm gonna be honest, it's an amazing looking figure. On the faceplate here, we've got some red printing trim on the edges, we've got some great torso and leg printing, a nice cannon mounted on the back, and then the face lifts up and you can see James Rhodes' head underneath. So this is actually one of my all-time favorite LEGO Marvel figures, and I was so excited to get to this showcase to show him off because, like I said, he's just one of my favorites. So, no real updates on him, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing because it looks pretty good straight out of the gate. Alright, so next up we've got Harley Quinn, who you'll remember as the little kid that Tony Stark runs into in Rose Hill, Tennessee, whenever Tony gets stranded. Fun fact, I actually live in Tennessee, and there is no such place as Rose Hill. They just basically made it up. But in any case, this figure turned out really well. I just used some tan short legs. I used Marty McFly's torso to give him that red jacket with the little shirt underneath. You could put red arms on him, but for simplicity's case, I didn't do that. The head is from little kid Anakin, and the hair is from Bilbo Baggins. So I really like the way that this figure turned out. It looks super accurate to the movie, and I actually really liked Harley in this movie. You know, he's not the most integral character, but he wasn't an annoying kid actor either, and I always gotta give props for that. So that's Harley, and let's move on to a few more figures before we dive into going through all of the Iron Man armors. Alright, so up next we've got Hogan, who you'll remember from my Iron Man 1 showcase. I love this guy. Oh my gosh, he's the best. So the face is from Dumbledore. The chest is from the time-traveling monster fighter guy. He's not a time traveler. I just saw his little pocket watch there, and I thought he was. And I gave him some khaki legs. Now, you'll remember that Hogan actually ends up being the guy that Tony Stark is stuck in a cave with in the first Iron Man. And my thing is, I think that he's one of the most important people in the entire MCU, because not only one did he help Tony escape that cave, but without him inspiring Tony, Tony never would have become Iron Man, and without becoming Iron Man, Thanos would have won in the 2012 Avengers battle, and we wouldn't have had all of the great Marvel movies leading up to Thanos that we do now. So, thanks to Hogan for kicking off the MCU, and he will always have a place in my showcases where applicable. So, let's move on to the next figure. Alright, so up next we've got Dr. Maya Hansen, who of course was the botanist that Tony Stark spends New Year's Eve with. And she comes up later when she tries to help Pepper and Tony, but ends up kind of being like a bad guy, villain. I don't know, it was so confusing what she was and what she wasn't. But in any case, I used the Scarlet Witch hair from Captain America Civil War for her. I used the torso from the Scientist, and I used the legs from the Women of NASA set. So, all in all, it's a pretty simple figure that's a pretty simple design to make. So next up, we've got President Ellis, who of course is the President of the United States in the movie and gets trapped in the Iron Patriot armor for the final battle. Now, I didn't really go all out with this figure. I just used a generic head, J. Jonah Jameson's suit, and then the hair from Commissioner Gordon. I don't think that anybody that is playing with Iron Man 3 figures really cares about having President Ellis, but I wanted to make him just in case you did care, so here's a quick and easy way to make that character. Alright, so up next we've got Bruce Banner from the post-credit scene. As it turned out in Iron Man 3, it was just Tony Stark relaying his message to Bruce Banner, making him act as a therapist, and Bruce fell asleep. So if you remember in that scene, Bruce's hair is actually kind of like, I don't know, like fuzzy. So I gave him this brown hair, this kind of fuzzy brown hair. I gave him the Winter Soldier / Star-Lord's face because he had a little bit of facial hair there that he doesn't usually have in the other Marvel movies. I gave him this nice torso, which I think it's from Lois Lane from somewhere along the line or something like that. But in any case, I think it looks really good for having that jacket open there. Then I just gave him some blue jeans. So it's a pretty simple build for a pretty simple figure, but I like the way that it turned out. So we've got one more figure before I start going through the Iron Man armors. Alright, and our final character before going through my Iron Man armors is going to be the Mandarin, or the fake Mandarin. I'm still not over that plot twist that really disappointed me in the theater, but I've kind of learned to live with it. Acceptance is the first step, right? So anyways, I didn't make any upgrades here. I just used the black slick back hair. It's exactly the same. I will say, though, that they gave a really interesting head to the Mandarin. You can see that he's kind of got like some bags under his eyes. He's got a smirk on this side, and then a very simple face on that side. So I really like the head that they used for him, but unfortunately the character in the movie just wasn't as great as the Lego figure. So the Mandarin is a really good looking figure, didn't make any upgrades, and that's that. So let's start diving into some Iron Man armors, shall we? Okay, so the main armor we got in Iron Man was the Mark 42 armor. That's the one that Tony used most of the time. I really didn't care for this armor at first, but the Lego version has always stuck out to me, and the real armor has grown on me over time. So I didn't make any upgrades here. It just is what it is, and it's a great looking figure at that. So, for this Iron Man section, I didn't build every single version of the Iron Man suits, because that would have required me to build 42 suits for this video, and we'd be here all year. So my plan is to go over some of the ones that already exist in Lego form, plus a few of my customs, and maybe I'll add the other ones down the line whenever the time comes fit. So in any case, let's dive in and start going through these Iron Man figures. Alright, so we've got Iron Man Mark 6 from the first Avengers movie. No upgrades here, but it is a great looking figure, and the armor does appear in the final battle for the on the oil rig and everything, so gotta have him in there. So the next figure is coming up. And here is Iron Man Mark 7. Nothing upgraded here, just a good looking figure of a good looking character. Oh, did I just say Iron Man's good looking? I didn't mean it like that. I meant the Iron Man armor is good looking. Remember, I'm still waiting for Karen Gillan to call me for a date. So, no need to worry about Iron Man. And here we've got the Iron Man Mark II armor. I used the Doctor Who Cyberman torso and legs with the War Machine head. I think it looks really good, and it represents a great Mark II. So, I love the way that that turned out, and let's move on to the next figure. Alright, so this figure is from Iron Man 3, but wasn't released with the Iron Man 3 sets. This is the Silver Centurion. Now, I love this figure. It was a GameStop promotional poly bag that came with the Lego Marvel Avengers, and man, this is the most all-out they ever went on an Iron Man figure. You can see that he's got printing on the side of the legs, which is pretty rare, printing on the arms. He's got printing on the front of the legs, on the front of the arms, and then all of this looks good. The face lifts up. There's a Tony face under there. I put a different Tony face on. The real one had a black and blue eye, but I used that on my Civil War Tony, which you'll see in my Civil War showcase in a few weeks. So there's a little 1x1 plate here with an arc reactor on it. When you flip it around, there's a 1x2 flat plate. And when you lift all of that off, you can see there's still some superb detailing on the back of the suit, which actually kind of matches the printing on the front of the suit too, but it just depends on if you want that bulky look or not. I love the bulky look though, because it's something that we don't often get for Iron Man, and I think that it looks really great on this figure, and I wish we could get it on some others. But in any case, this is one of my all-time favorite Lego Marvel figures, and I couldn't wait to show them off here, and I can't wait to show off the last few armors. So, let's keep moving. Alright, so up next we've got the Space Armor, aka Star Boost. I actually thought that we would see this in Avengers Infinity War, which of course we didn't, and I thought that at one point Iron Man might go off to join the Guardians of the Galaxy, but who knows if that'll ever happen. But the armor looked good for however brief it was in Iron Man 3, and it looks good here. So I didn't make any updates here. I suppose that you could take the arms that I used on my Kingpin custom from the Chef, and you could put those on there if you wanted just a little bit of extra detail, but I didn't do that. I just left it looking sleek. This armor came with the Captain Marvel set that had Thanos in it and the Avenger jet thing, and so that was cool, but I didn't make any updates beyond that. So let's move on and show you some more Iron Mans. So up next, we've got the underwater armor, and man, this is an absolute unit of an Iron Man figure. He's got this great green shoulder piece that goes on here and some really unique green coloring all over the figure. I didn't change this at all from the Lego Marvel Superheroes Avengers set. It was the Red Skull underwater set, and I didn't change it because, well, it looked so much like the movie already. There wasn't too terribly much more I could add that would make it look any better. So that's this figure, and we've got one more to go before we wrap up. Alright, and last but not least, we've got the Heartbreaker, and hopefully I didn't break your guys' hearts by not making all of the Iron Man armors, but like I said, I plan to do them in future videos, and just didn't have the time to put it together for this one. But in any case, the Heartbreaker armor is exactly like it came in the sets. This was the first time we got colored eyes on an Iron Man figure, which was pretty revolutionary, because we wouldn't see it again until Avengers Infinity War. The armor is really great. It's got a little bit of reflectiveness here on the silver parts, and all in all, it's just a really great looking figure from a so-so movie. But in any case, let's wrap up this showcase and I'll tell you my final thoughts. Alright guys, so that wraps up my Iron Man 3 showcase. Man, this was a ton of fun to put together, and although this movie isn't my favorite from the MCU, it had some memorable moments and some memorable character designs. So, I hope that you guys enjoyed all the characters I made for this. Drop a comment below letting me know who your favorite was, and let me know who you're excited to see next week for Thor: The Dark World. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so that you never miss a LEGO live stream, a LEGO tutorial, or a LEGO review from my channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. So thanks a ton for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time, and until next time, build on. If you liked what you saw and you liked what you heard, feel free to click that subscribe button for more LEGO content coming in the near future. So, thanks for tuning in to today's video, and until next time, build on.